Hello, this is Michael with Visionary Sim Pilot, and today I'm going to fly the traffic pattern on runway 4 at LaGuardia in New York. So that we're going to be going alongside the Hudson River and the skyline of all the buildings and all that kind of stuff. So we are already sitting at runway 4. Excuse me for the extra little noises there. So I'm already sitting on runway 4. And we're going to be doing the left traffic pattern. So there we are, runway 4. We're going to be flying over there to the left, where we can see the skyline over there in the background. So, and the common thing in traffic patterns is to climb to about 1,000 feet above ground level and do your little square. So I am doing this in a way so that people similar to myself that maybe have difficulties lining up with the runway or have difficulty with vision can make this a little bit easier. So I brought up the GPS, and you can see that there's this white line that runs underneath right underneath my plane. So we're sitting here at LaGuardia because I've already set it up for the ILS approach on runway 4, but I don't necessarily want to do the ILS approach and have the computer do the whole thing for me. So I'll kind of talk you through how I tend to do this. So especially in my Marin B26 Bomber that I am doing the traffic pattern in today. So I like to do all these different things in different aircraft and get used to particular and different aircraft, and I enjoy flying these old piston style aircraft. They're a lot of fun. Alright, so we've got that set, and I'm also going to have multi-crew experience going today too, so that it's going to do some call outs of our V1, our VR, and our V2, which are our takeoff speeds, and it will also give us some feedback on how far away we are from the ground with a little ground warning system. So that it can call out how high we are above the ground, so that it helps us flare and pay attention to our descent rate and all that other kind of thing. Okay, so and then let's jump into the cockpit a little bit. So we have the cockpit here, which I won't use a whole lot. I will show you at particular times during the flight. I tend to, this is one of the reasons why I like Prepared 3D, is I have these 2D panels that I can change, but I have this little panel here so that I have a big view of the outside, but I can still see all of my main important panels with my airspeed over here to the left, my artificial horizon here left center, my heading to right center, the altitude just to the right of that, and the vertical speed just to the right of that. So very important gauges to all be aware of while you are flying, and so this way you can keep an eye on those as well as have a big view outside the aircraft. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna unpause. I've got everything all pretty much ready to go except for flaps and our trim, so I just set that, so that's good. Alright, and controls are all set. I got the landing lights on, so here we go. Gonna take off and start our little rollout here. And I actually really didn't check on the weather. I've got real weather going through active sky, and I'm on the active runway. I'm not talking to air traffic control today, so we might see some aircraft cutting in front of us on the runway or other things like that. You never know. We'll just see.
80 knots.
There's 80 knots. Drifting a little bit right.
V1.
Or sorry, left. Alright, there's V1. I'm going to start pulling back because I'm a little bit light, so I know I can get off the ground a little earlier. And
positive climb.
there, we're off the ground. Bring the landing gear up. Don't want to try to climb too steeply. This is where that vertical speed is great. If I can focus on trying to have that around 500 or a little bit less for a little bit so that I can continue to generate my speed, because I am in a bomber that doesn't have a ton of power. So that now I'm up at 120 knots. You can see the airport back behind. Alright, so I was going at heading of 040, so I want to turn. I'm going to take the flaps up now. I'm going to turn 90 degrees to my left, so that I'm going to end up heading at about 310. So, and this is the great part. I can see outside, so I can see my horizon because it's a nice clear day. And start backing my throttle down a little bit more too. And on top of that, I can, use the horizon outside. As if it was cloudy, I could use the artificial horizon as well, so that I can see that. And then I'm going to show you kind of how I help things out here a little bit too. So I'm going to come inside and I'm going to back my throttle down to about 45, and going to bring the prop down to about 25, and check everything, make sure I get my climb going back again. Alright, so there's about 310. Alright, so there's that little turn. I'll stay here for a second or two, not too long. And then, because I'm actually going pretty quick now, I'm now up at about 160-ish. So I'm going to continue my turn left, and now I'm going to head downwind. So that was the crosswind leg. Now we're going to go turning downwind. And with our downwind leg, we're going to turn all the way around to a heading of about 22. The runway's heading is actually 045, so I'm going to go about 0.225, somewhere around in that ballpark. And you can see the Hudson River out there in front of us, made famous by Sully Sullenberger for landing that A320 over there. Alright, so I'm going to flatten out now to make things kind of simple, and so that I can, even look around and have a little fun as I'm on this downwind leg. I can turn the autopilot on, I can have it hold the altitude, I can have it hold the heading. So I just turned those things on so that it holds all that for me. And then I can cruise along, and I'm going to bring prop down to 40, bring throttle down to 40. This prop's going to still stay around, what do I have my prop at? A little about 22, 23, somewhere around in there. So that I'm adjusting that prop speed. And then this way, while we're cruising along, I can come outside the plane and we can see the Hudson River over there. And we can see the skyline over there. And then also, if we look over here out to the left, we can see LaGuardia Airport and where we're going to go and land, so that we can see all that. We can bring GPS up to see that, we're passing the runway now. So, and a lot of times when you are doing this, what you'd be doing is you'd be looking out the back left side of the airport, spotting the runway. Okay, so we will jump back over here inside the cockpit, and we will look left, and then we will look back, so that we can see where the runway is over there. And things are a little bumpy, quite fun, as the plane's wiggling around a little. So that would be like a short final. Once you're a good mile and a half off the end of the runway, that's when you can turn your base and you turn your final. But like I said, I have a little difficulty lining up the aircraft as we fly over the buildings here. Always quite fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the GPS to help me. So I am going to activate the GPS for an ILS landing on runway 4. So that's right alongside me over there. You can see that's now that little red line. I have the nav GPS switch to navigation. Oh, sorry, excuse me. It's switched to GPS. So as I get far enough out there, I can actually have it turn and set me up for there. So I'm back outside the aircraft now, just so we can take another look at this nice little view of the Hudson River, some bridges, the buildings underneath us, so that we, have a little entertainment time as we're looking all the way around and enjoying our little traffic pattern here on runway 4 at LaGuardia in New York. So cruising along, I'm just a little bit over 1,000 feet. Jump back inside. Yep, just a little bit over 1,000 feet at about 1,300 feet. I can even bring that down real easily, and I can even do it just by talking to multi-crew experience. Set altitude 1,000 feet. That is if it responds to me. Set altitude 1,000 feet.
Setting altitude 1,000. Done.
There we go. And then it will change. It'll all descend me down to 1,000 feet because now that's what's set. And we will take another quick look at GPS, see where we're at, see if we're ready to start our left turn for base. And we are coming up to the end of that red line, so that's kind of what we want to do. But just for fun, I'm going to jump outside the aircraft. You can see we're completely over all the water now. And there's all the city behind us. So voila, perfect. So you can do this in two ways. You can just start to have the autopilot follow the GPS, or you can actually start your turn manually and then eventually have it do that. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn off heading hold, and I'm going to turn the aircraft myself and use my rudder a little bit and get myself to turn to where I'm going to turn pretty close to 90 degrees, so that once again I'm going to be going down to about heading of 130. As I turn around this way, and I can bring up my GPS really quick and look at that and go, yep, that's looking pretty good. And then once I get to this way, I get to fly the plane a little bit too, and not just the computer or the autopilot's doing all the work. Alright, and then once I get to about here, I'm going to go ahead and tell the autopilot to follow that GPS line. And so now the autopilot's going to follow that. And then as it's doing that, I am going to start slowing the aircraft down just a little bit.
1,000 feet above ground.
And there's multi-crew experience telling me how far we are above the ground, just so that I am aware. I'll put a little flaps on. I'm going to bring the landing gear down. You can always go outside and check, make sure those things are happening. There we go. Flaps are out, landing gear's down. Life's beautiful. And now if we go back to the GPS, we're right on track, we're following it, so I don't have to worry about lining up with the runway. The autopilot has done it for me, which makes it so much easier, and then I can focus on flying the vertical aspect of it, and as I get closer and I can see the runway better, I can maintain that. So you will see that as I'm coming on in, reducing my speed down to about 140. And along the way, we can still come outside the aircraft. We can look around real quick. There's the cityscape over there to our left now. All the nice buildings all along the Hudson River over there. And then we can check our GPS and see how far away we really are. All right, so here we are on the GPS. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the GPS. All right, so that, you know, we're getting fairly close. I don't want to be that in on the GPS. So we're 3 miles from the end of that line, but we're just getting ready to start where the ILS approach is. So we're still about 6 miles from the runway itself. Have everything pretty much configured. I don't have full flap set yet, but I won't do that until I actually kind of start my descent. So I'm at 1,000 feet. So typically when I get about 3.5 miles from the runway is when I will click off the vertical hold for the autopilot, where then I will start my descent and start to work my way down, set my flaps, and start my approach. And then as I get closer and I have a good visual for myself, depending upon the lighting, the time of day, all those kind of good things, then I will start turn the autopilot off completely and continue the rest of the descent down to the runway. So, and you can see the end of the runway out there now is popped up, and I'm at 4 miles from the runway. So I'll typically wait until that gets to about 3, and it just switched to 3, and so I'll turn the GPS off. I'll add a little extra flaps, and we'll take the altitude hold off of the autopilot, bring the nose down a little bit, and I'll put the rest of the flaps on as well. Bring the nose down a little bit more so that I can start the descent going down. Now watch my airspeed because it's starting to boost up there a little bit. We want to keep that down around 110, 120, somewhere in that ballpark. So, and I don't want my descent to go quite that fast. So this is why it's great to have these 6 gauges up here that I can watch.
500 feet.
And then we have multi-crew experience telling us that we're at 500 feet already, which means I need to level out my descent a little bit. And I can adjust my throttle. We got the runway really good, so now I can see the runway quite well. So now is when I will turn off
Minimums.
the autopilot completely. I'm going to slow down just a little bit more. So autopilot's off. We're going to slow down a little bit more. And it said minimums already. We're looking good. Everything's going fine right over the highway there with the cars and the traffic. I'm going to turn off the 6. And we are going to touch down just like that. Boom. Tap the brakes, get the nose on the ground. Spoilers are out. Slowing the aircraft down. Voila. Just like that. So that is going through the traffic pattern for runway 4. So, and then if we want to have a little fun, we can always, well, we don't even really need to pull off the runway, but I'm going to pull off the runway over here and come over here onto the taxiway. Boom. And then I'm going to go ahead and park, or at least stop. I'm going to put the parking brake on. And then we're going to go outside that aircraft. And then what we can do is we can come up here and we can watch our quick landing replay. Oops, I didn't go back quite far enough. Let's go back a little bit longer. Alright, and so now we're up in the air and we can watch our quick little replay of our landing. So there's the city off to the left, and we're out here on approach. We can see that runway, and now we can watch it from the outside of the aircraft and see how we did, and see how we did with smoothness. And we can still get to take a little look at the scenery. We can see how low we really are
500 feet.
to that. There's that 500. How low we really were to that highway right there at the end of runway 4. As we pass over the suburbs here below us with all these small little structures and roadways.
Minimums.
And there's minimums, which is 200 feet. So, and that was where I kind of leveled things off a little bit more. And then here we come up on that little highway. Should probably look up to see what the highway that is as we go right over that little road. And there is our touchdown on the runway, and getting the nose gear down and then on the brakes. So, hope you like it. That's how you fly the traffic pattern with a little bit of help from the autopilot in a B26 or any other kind of aircraft here in Prepared 3D. So, I hope you like it. Please subscribe, ring the little bell, put some comments down below, all that kind of good stuff. Hope you all have fun times and safe times flying, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video.